right, I'd like to call the Albany Selectmen's meeting to order at 5:37 PM on November 29th. Join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
I moved the Clorox. Isn't it nice tonight? Clorox out there.
Yeah, but my pocketbook's there.
Better than the Clorox bottle.
New business, approval of the November 8th, 2023 Selectmen meeting minutes, including one set of non-public minutes.
Make a motion to approve the minute?
Second.
Any discussion?
Yep.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Approval of the November 29th consent file consists of review and sign manifest in the amount of $160,000, $223.45, $62,310.87, and $12,871.13 to include accounts payable and payroll manifest for 11/15, 22, and 29. May I have a motion?
I make a motion to approve the consent file of November 29th.
I second.
Any discussion on it? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Review, discuss, and approve or deny the residential building permit for 2038 NH Route 16. This item was tabled at the 11/8/2023 meeting. So I think
second the
after
discussion.
reviewing... Oh, I didn't motion.
Oh, I thought you did. Go
I
ahead.
thought you did.
No, I did not.
I make a motion to approve the residential building permit for 2038 NH Route 16.
I second.
Oh, goody.
Are you going to require the septic?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I will take the building permit administrator's advice and require the submission of the septic design before we approve this.
So we're gonna make a contingent upon
Contingent?
on the septic.
I think I want to see the septic design first before I approve or...
So you're going to vote no on the approval
Mhm.
pending receipt of the septic?
Anybody else? You agree with that?
Yep.
I agree with that.
Yeah. Okay. Call to a vote. Nay?
No?
Nope.
Review, discuss, and approve land use change tax for map 9, lot 173.
Isn't there a waiver of a parking violation for
Yeah,
D?
yeah. D.
That was second, wasn't it? Oh, okay, I'm sorry. I'm just looking at the highlight, the pretty colors. Kathy, come home.
What are you, racking your ADD?
Oh my God, really bad.
Okay, focus. Don't look at the shiny lights. Sorry.
Review, discuss, and approve or deny a request for waiver of parking violation 2369. Everybody review that?
I did.
Do you travel that part of the road often?
I do.
Do you see lots of cars there
I
every
do.
weekend?
I do.
Yeah. I support the sheriff and his situation and his description. It's a little bit different.
Well, let me make a motion to approve the waiver for parking violation 2369.
A second that for discussion.
My point of view is there are at least half a dozen. Hi, Mike.
Well,
Come in. Have a seat. At least every weekend, half a dozen cars there, all winter, all summer.
I think his point was
I
that
don't
he-
think we ever had a violation there, and unless he's gonna park himself there every weekend.
Well, I think his point was that he's off to the side of the gates and bars, but the sign clearly says do not park to block gates and bars, and if somebody pulls up next to him and sees him park there, they think it's okay, so they're gonna park there. And if the gate opened out, you still couldn't get the gate open for a fire truck or a cruiser, or, so he is blocking gates and bars.
I don't know, like you said.
So is
which way
everybody
to go.
else that climbs that trail.
No, because lots of people park down here, way out of the way, and they don't ticket them. It's the ones that park in front of gates and bars with the sign that says don't block the gates and bars.
Wait, I didn't see where we got a response from the sheriff.
We did.
You're
It was-
thinking about the second one?
This is the first one. And Steve wrote them both, and I believe he wrote them both the same day,
I
maybe.
bet they're friends.
The sign on the gate that he is parked in front of says do not block gate. It does not say to the side of the gate is okay. The gate is the access point for Conway Fire and Rescue.
Who's in charge of that gate? National Forest? Is it the people who run the campground?
Are they different people?
Is that considered Route 16?
Oh, I don't think so.
Is it private property?
I think it's Albany property, because it's.
Then again, I mean, they do patrol all the campgrounds.
That's right. We've seen many places up to Cank and all around, and people park where they're not supposed to park and they get ticketed.
Did he pay this fine?
I don't think either. The second one said he sent me a check, but he'd appreciate it if I didn't cash it until you made a decision. The first one, usually when they want to appeal these, I tell them not to pay until they get their appeal, because I don't want to deposit a check and have to pay it back.
I
So
understand that.
they're usually concerned because it says they have to appeal within 5 days and pay within 5 days, and they throw it in a drawer and can't find it for 30 days. And so I sent Steve Rowe a copy of the ticket spreadsheet, which show them paid and color coded in green. So he gets those every week in the summer and probably every other week in the winter. So he knows, like, I highlight that and say on appeal. And then when you guys vote, and you have always voted to deny the appeals to date.
I'm gonna vote
send it
to
me.
table this for, get more information from Deputy Rowe.
Yes, please.
Yeah.
I would.
Because, like I said, I go back and forth every single day, and there is
There is.
numerous cars there
What information
all
do you
the
want
time.
from him?
It's more about the gate.
Because that's,
The
I mean,
access to the gate.
he sent his email. What else do you want from him? Because he wrote 5 tickets there that
Okay,
day.
he goes by all the time, so is he checking it every single time that he's on duty and there's cars parked there? Because, listen, there's only so many cars can fit there, and I'm telling you, there's at least a half dozen every weekend.
He says there was ample parking there that day.
I don't wanna make examples, I want,
I don't think it's the parking is the issue, it's the parking in front of the gate.
and
Like
he
you say,
can't-
there's a lot of
I
cars
do too, I
there.
understand, and
And
I
they're-
don't
they're
take
not
notice of
violation.
that really, but you can't park across the street either because that's private property.
Then they need to find somewhere else to hike. There's no place to park. There's no parking. That's a
Yeah.
state forest deal, that's not, I mean, we don't
The
supply
same
the
issue
parking.
down in Lancet, so
Could they move the gate? If it is the US Forest Service gates, could they move the gate closer into the campground and make more
I'm not
access?
gonna waive or deny this request at this time.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, and so what more information am I getting from Deputy Rowe? I don't understand what I'm supposed to be
I
asking
wanna
for.
know if he consistently patrols this parking area.
Okay.
And I wanna know if he's seen violations before.
And why this one sticks
I
out.
don't want to make an example, I want to be consistent,
He has written tickets on this.
and they just pay and go on
Yeah.
their way.
Absolutely. Because he usually sends me the picture of them parked. He takes pictures whenever of all his parking tickets, and he sends me the picture that they're parked in front of a sign that says no, don't park in front. I can pull all the ones from White Ledge, because he writes right on White Ledge, and they pay. Yeah, but I'll ask him.
I guess the bigger question is, like you brought up, who owns this? Is it the National Forest? I know it's the
I think
National
it's
Forest.
National Forest.
So should it be park rangers that deal with this and not our sheriff's
That's
department?
not happening.
Yeah, we
Well,
had to do it, remember on Piper Trail last year when they were parking in between the rock, what's that gentleman's name that owns the, Steve? He had to write him and he had to tow them because the guy put big boulders on this, like to outline his yard, and they were parking like in between the boulders. And Steve had to have them towed. I think that was during COVID.
No, I'm just saying that the gate, the access for the gate is that's for emergency response vehicles, but it's maintained by the Forest Service. And it's their sign that is on it, and they should have
With
a better.
I think they gate it because they closed the campground.
Yes.
Right.
The sheriff's department kind of oversees everything
For us,
for the Forest Service.
For us,
all the
though,
campgrounds.
because he's working on, for us, when he writes his ticket.
Yeah, but
He should be writing a ticket if an emergency vehicle can't get in there. He can't be doing one of those.
Okay. No,
I still want to table it.
Okay.
I'd like to know how many tickets this is the first appeal from that place.
okay.
Please. Your opinion?
No, I have an opinion. I think we need to support his decision. He's parked in front of a gate, and
All right.
I think it should stay myself.
We weren't there to see it, so.
I'm good with getting more
Let's call it
information.
to a vote then.
I
I call it to a vote.
call for a vote.
I
I
vote to table.
vote to table. We can use it one more time.
I'm fine with tabling it for more information.
Okay.
Okay, so you made a motion to approve, he seconded it. So
Discuss.
now you're gonna,
Vote to table it.
so now you're gonna withdraw your motion and your second and make a motion to table.
Yes.
Sounds good. Make a motion to withdraw my motion.
Second that.
It's hot in here. Make a motion to table.
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Review, discuss contract for mapping services from Avatar. I think that looks fantastic, and
Which one did you?
3-year,
3-year,
1210,
yeah. I think
great,
that's-
well worth it.
Yeah, that's-
Anybody else have an opinion on that? The mapping?
I agree with you.
It's a great
It's not a-
program,
We don't need.
and that's
to approve
unlimited.
that.
Whenever a planning board has has an update, just shoot it over to them, it's updated online.
Do we need a vote on that?
I'll make a
It's a
motion to
contract.
vote for the 3-year option on the mapping from Avatar.
I second that.
Any discussion?
No, I'm good.
Call to a vote?
Aye.
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 And for letter G, I'm going to make a motion to table the request for the appeal of parking violation 2342. It is basically the same situation as 2369.
I second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Town administrator?
So you missed the land use change tax.
Good. And that one's shiny and bright.
Ooh, it's shiny.
Want to come back yet? Review, discuss, and approve land use change tax for map 9 lot 173. Conway Road.
Yeah, it's carriers, they have let their neighbor do a small little sawmill that Jason found last summer in 2022. So they have to take half an acre out of current use because that is a violation of current use.
Correct.
They know it's coming. It's been a minute.
Okay.
It's been like
I'll make a
16.
motion to approve land use change tax, map 91173.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor? Aye.
Right.
Now, town administrator report.
So I wanted to talk to you about what you want to do in December. I talked to the township tax collector. Christmas is on a Monday, so that's a holiday. They're not open anyway. Her and I would both like to keep the town office closed on Tuesday. I have 12 hours of vacation to burn off at the end of the year. I have to come in and cut payroll because it's a weekly, monthly, quarterly, and annual payroll. And it has to be cut by 2 o'clock on Tuesday. So I've got to come in anyway for a few hours, a couple hours anyway. But I'd like to not open the office if that's okay with you guys.
It's fine by me.
And then I don't know what you want to do. The selectmen's meeting for the second and the fourth week would be the 27th. And you really need to have a meeting at the end of the year to encumber any funds.
Sign checks before everything, approve everything
End
before.
of the year stuff, so.
Yeah, if
I assume
if
that
everybody
meeting's
is
on.
okay with that, I'll be meeting on the 27th.
That's fine.
Yeah, that's fine.
I'll try to keep it down to a dull roar so you're not
Thanks.
here. Well, not for you, because you're. Everything's gonna become black man, you know. Okay, so that's good. We're gonna
Yep.
close the office on the 25th and
Yes.
26th, and then meeting still on the 27th. And then I suggest we table the budget conversation to the end of this meeting, because you have appointments.
I really haven't had time to review it anyways.
Okay.
And like you said, it's so preliminary. I think just let us
Keep it Friday.
look at it for
Okay.
a little while.
All right. I will agenda it for the 13th.
Appointments.
Hi.
Meet with representatives from the Albany Conservation Commission to discuss intent to cut in town forest and on Bald Hill to relieve moth damage. Also to discuss revenue from cut and request to waive the timber tax.
Correct.
Want to go?
Go ahead, I'll intercede.
So, yes, spongy moth damage, a lot of dead
Everywhere.
trees, and there's an opportunity to have a salvage harvest. And it fits within the land trust guidelines, and seems like it would benefit the land and benefit town of Albany. Then it comes to where's the money go and how does it go and all that stuff. The first thing would be the waiver of the timber tax. So the request from the Conservation Commission to ask the Select Board to waive the timber tax. This is just the town taxing itself and then having to relay it back. It makes things a bit easier on Tim Nolan's side, the, not the harvester.
Forester.
Forester,
Yep.
yes. So that would be the first item. With the timber tax,
So you still have to do an intent to cut, he still has to report, we have to report it just like there is tax on it to DRA,
yes.
even though
Correct.
they
That's
vote to
correct.
waive the tax.
Correct.
I can read you what he wrote about that, but
Yeah.
maybe.
That was done before in the town forest, if you recall. That huge cut that we did, and that was all the money that went in towards the purchase
Right,
of the property. And then there was 20,000 left over or something like
yeah,
that.
I had to, I was starting to ask Kelly had helped, went back and, I was trying to follow the dots of what happened last time to see what we should do this time
Correct.
to follow that.
Right.
Oh,
Right.
Yeah.
I don't remember exactly how it went.
Mhm.
I mean, it is exempt, and Tim should be putting up a bond
Correct.
to cover
Well,
that.
that was the,
Well, this is one of the
Second
things.
question.
So before, this is Tim's writing. Before an intent to cut can be submitted, we need to determine if the timber tax is going to be waived. If not, the logger on the municipal lands is responsible for paying the timber tax and has to pay it as a bond when the intent to cut is signed.
Correct.
So if it is waived, I don't think he does have to do those steps, right? This results in an overall market value of the wood being paid for as 90% stumpage and 10% timber tax. And so that is the timber tax part. So that's just item number one. So I don't know if we want to just discuss that and potentially
Yeah, I
vote on
have no
that.
problem with that. I think the conservation fund has sat idle for good 10 years, 9 years, I think.
Yeah.
I think it's down to 9,000 and some change.
Yeah.
And that would be great if you can get something out of that. We had Jim Innocent a few weeks ago, and he's not even gonna chase that option. He feels that it's too far gone. All the damaged trees.
Really?
On the national forest.
Yeah, part of the issue with I'm Kevin Tilton for the Conservation Commission, and I work for the Forest Service. So, not speaking for the Forest Service, but for the Forest Service to get a timber harvest in place would take longer than what we can do. So I think that's what his view is, that it's gonna be too far gone by the time the Forest Service can get to it, whereas we can get to it potentially in the next month and
That'd be
start,
great.
which everybody else
Snow
around
really
is done.
flies. Yeah, I'll make a motion to waive the timber tax,
Second.
For the salvage cut on the Albany
salvage
Selectboard.
cut on the town forest, Bald Hill Road.
Yes.
Second.
Discussion,
Nope. I'm good.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. The revenue, I'll make a motion that the revenue from the cut,
That has to be done at town meeting.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna
did
get
that,
to.
was,
Per NHMA's legal inquiry line, only town meeting to do that. I went back and looked for when it was done before, and I could not find anywhere where they earmarked that at town meeting,
I don't remember that at all.
so.
That's fine, I mean, make it a.
If it was done as a blanket thing where any timbering from the town forest automatically went into the conservation fund, but I'm not even actually sure. I suspect after doing some research back in town meeting minutes and conservation commission minutes, town reports, the conservation fund didn't get legalized by town meeting until 2018. And I think it, by the way that warrant article reads, it was already in existence, but town meeting hadn't voted it, so they were like, it looked like they were trying to dot their i's and cross their t's because they had set up a revolving fund basically without town meeting permission. So I think the fund, I think that's why I couldn't find a warrant article that set, the fund is set up, the fund was set up at town meeting in 2018. 2012, warrant article 4 gave management authority of the town forest to the Concom. I see where the Concom noted selective cut of the town forest in 2013, and that there was some residual money left from the sale, but they don't say how much. So I couldn't find where anybody earmarked that money to go into that fund. And the fund didn't get legally created until 2018. So I think the fund pre-existed the...
It, I know it does.
So basically, just to make it right, we have to have a warrant article in 2024.
Okay.
And then I already gave them the wording of that, what that warrant article has to say. And then it basically says, if adopted, this article shall take effect April 1st. So any money we get can then go into their fund.
Did you agree to that?
I get that, yeah,
Get it?
yeah.
So you're okay with putting that on the warrant? Okay.
Excellent.
And I just assume that Tim Nolan's fee will come out before that. You won't have to pay that separately.
That's a good question. Anyone know?
Yeah, I mean, let's see, this isn't necessarily related to the timber management plan.
No.
No, so that's a good point. We should probably follow up. I mean, we have money in the conservation fund currently that we could use to pay for that, and then it's gonna
To
be
pay for-
replenished, after April 1st, if everybody's in agreement on that, so.
Yeah.
So I guess the question would be what his fee is. you know, to make sure we have that to cover that, but I wouldn't, I mean, like you said, I think there's 9,000, is that what we were
Yes.
just saying? So
$9,394.
I wouldn't anticipate that his fee would be any more than that, so we're probably, but we could follow up on that and make sure.
One of the other things that could be on the warrant is a vote to delegate management of the Albany Town Forest to the Conservation Commission.
That's already been done, that was done in 2012 and passed.
Oh, yeah.
Warrant article number 4 of 2012.
Yeah, we're just trying
I
to,
remember that.
just trying to go through everything
Yeah,
to
no,
make
that
sure that
was-
it's check, like you say,
Yep.
dot our i's, cross our
Yep.
t's, that, so that things go.
And then we have been talking about land use change tax, as that's land in conservation. And when land comes out of conservation, as you just voted on, there's a tax. Many towns and the State Conservation Commission have a setup where when this happens, a percentage of it goes to the Conservation Commission to support conservation efforts, because you're taking land that was in conservation and then taking it out. So the idea being that some of that money could go to support the town's conservation efforts. So we are putting this idea to you forward as something that would help fund the conservation fund, because this harvest is kind of the one-time thing, right? We have the spongy moth infestation, it's a salvage harvest. Hopefully we get some money out of it. It might break even, but there's probably not going to be a giant amount of money. And then for the Conservation Commission to manage the Albany Town Forest, there are just things that come up that take some money, some gravel here, or a 10-year forest management plan. And so that is the presentation, I guess, or that ask about having a percentage of land use change tax go to the Conservation Fund to support Conservation Commission and Albany Town Forest Management.
Well, I'm not against the idea, however, when the land was purchased, and I'm thinking it's 2012, and the money was raised and appropriated for the purchase of the property, Steve Knox stood in town meeting in front of everyone and said, not another penny from taxpayers will go towards this property. And here we are,
This
11
property will
years.
generate money.
He
Yeah.
said that, he
Self-sufficient.
really did, and
Yeah.
he did. And I have been given every single DVD of the town meetings, and I'm gonna find Steve Knox standing there telling everybody. So I understand there's other ways to raise money, and I would really ask that you really, because what you're doing is, I understand other towns do it, but you're taking revenue from our tax rate, which is already, I mean, this year is great, but it struggles, let's face it.
Right.
We have no say in what the school does. They say, here's your bill, we have, and, you know, even though it might be just a few $1,000s, that could still make an impact on us. And I'm not gonna make a decision tonight. Because if you choose to put it into your operating budget to say, manage the town forest, you know, that's to be discussed and, you know, talked about and approved or not approved. But it's just that it's,
Right, no, and I understand what you're saying, Kathy Ryan, as a former selectman and having lived in town and been involved in town government since the late 80s, and sat through town meeting those years, I understand totally. Now being on the Conservation Commission, I'm thinking to the future. I'm thinking not just about the Albany Town Forest, but what if 25 years from now, something comes up, a piece of land comes up, say adjacent to that piece in Bald Hill, and we say, geez, this would be a perfect piece of land to add to whatever happens or whatever we do we have the funds to do that, or we then go to the taxpayers and say, we'd like to raise money? I think, so I'm thinking beyond just the Albany Town Forest. How does the Conservation Commission raise money and sustain itself?
Are you getting money from the farmers?
No,
That
we
was a
can't.
wash.
Yeah,
That
it's
was
like
a
a wash thing.
They trade in kind.
Yeah.
They do
So-
maintenance and mowing and brushing back the trees and
Right,
this
which
kind of
is a
stuff.
requirement of the easement.
Easement, right, it's an
Um,
easement.
But what about like the early ideas of the watershed there that was so pure that, remember the water study that was done in probably 2013, 14, there was a water study.
So what would we use that for? What would the watershed
You could
generate?
Build a well and sell the
Sell the
water,
water.
So back when
or
we-
you could, I mean, there's just,
Back
there's
when
so
the
many
whole-
ideas back then.
Yeah, there were so many ideas about how this was gonna self-sustain itself.
Right,
And not cost the taxpayers any money.
right,
And I just think we need to look into those things that was talked
Right,
about.
relook,
Yeah.
relook.
And
Yeah.
relook into them.
yeah.
And remember that, how much a national forest is in Albany. And do we need to look forward to buying more
Right,
more land for that purpose?
And that's one thing that conservation fund cannot be used for. It carves it out in, I think,
For
36A,
what?
that the conservation fund cannot be used to purchase land without going back to town meeting. So I think,
Well,
but I think you're gonna run into trouble with that, because just
We
in
have
the
so much.
research I've done, people are putting that warrant article on almost every year not to acquire any more conservation land because there's enough in
Right,
town.
right.
So,
Now, if you could get it to self-sustain itself,
Yeah.
then the townspeople maybe would look at it and say, well, okay, more land isn't a bad thing. But if it's costing the town money, then that would be a hard sell.
also the conservation fund has been in existence, I don't know when exactly, 2013 or 14 probably, when the cut was done. And nobody spent any money out of it
Right.
in,
Right,
in 10 years. Even last year, when you had the forced stewardship plan for $2,500, you were loath to take it out of that. That would pay for, if you have to do a stewardship plan every 10 years, that would be 40 years of stewardship plans that you have the money on, and you're loath to spend it on that, so.
Yeah, I mean, part of the reason that fund has not gone down is, as these guys mentioned, most of the work that's been done there has been volunteer. A lot of the supplies that have been
Donated.
used for signs and stuff have been donated, either by members of the conservation committee or the community. So that's the real reason the fund hasn't gone down.
But that's what they promised when they obtained it, right? That it wouldn't cost taxpayers
But
money.
forests like this too is not, generate, massive amounts of revenue. I mean, yes, we could do a timber harvest every 10 years, but at some point you're gonna run out of wood to cut. Plus it goes against the purpose of having a town forest, you're not gonna cut it.
Do you attend any conservation commission, like association meetings? They have annual meetings?
Right.
It's the
Yeah.
best place to go and network and see what other people do.
Right, and and we've asked around for other towns without going to a meeting, which is why we're coming up with some of these ideas to present to you now. But we really do have a unique situation here in Albany with the town forest. So we're just really trying to get ideas of, how do we sustain ourselves and raise money without costing the taxpayers. So we're the beginnings of that discussion.
Yeah.
And to paraphrase Court, who's not here, but he had said, yes, it didn't cost the taxpayers any money to create the Albany Town Forest and to get that land and get everything
Well, it
initiated.
did. We had a warrant article, I forget how much it was.
175,000,
Yeah.
plus the grants that everybody applied.
But, but it was 175, went to our tax rate, I believe.
Yeah,
Unless it came from the unreserved fund balance,
No,
but still
got that.
taxpayer money,
Yeah.
either way.
yeah, it was 175,000, and then the rest came from,
But, so,
That the maintenance of it is a separate you know, related, a separate issue.
Yeah.
And anyways, it's a common practice in many towns, and it's the land use change tax is not money that the town counts on for revenue, right? Because
We
you don't
do.
know when it's coming.
It's
You
part
don't
of
we
know
do,
how
we
much,
budget
and you don't know
for
when.
it.
part of our
Based
regular
on-
budget.
Based on a 5-year trend, we
Oh, you
do
do, okay.
include that in the budget when
Okay.
we set the tax rate.
Absolutely.
Out of curiosity, how much do you budget for per year? Just
About
like-
$5,000,
Yeah.
but we actually took in this year, I think 12,000, maybe 14. I'm billing one tonight that we may get before the end of the year. But this is an unusual year, it just,
And again, it doesn't matter what we estimate it at, whatever it comes in.
Is what
we
it-
get.
When we go to
credit.
set the tax rate,
In
we're putting
September.
that 10, 12, 14, whatever it is, you know, and that would be, you know, 5, 6, or 7,000 rather than,
Right. Okay.
So we were essentially hoping for like 50-50 or something, 50% to support conservation. In the town of Albany, there's a lot of residents, there's a lot of non-residents, there's a lot of people who use the town forest. Like, a lot of people get a lot of benefit out of it.
yes, they're all good things.
Yes.
But not for everyone to pay for.
The farmers are,
That's true.
Yeah, because we've even talked about people have wanted to donate money,
See, that's the thing.
and it's
yes.
like, where does that go and how do we do that?
But that's.
So we're starting to have those
you should-
discussions.
Absolutely.
How do we
In Conway,
accept?
there's 4 conservation funds.
Mhm.
There's 4. There's one just for land.
Yeah,
So that's why I say, you know, going out and networking with
Right.
other commissions would be so beneficial.
yeah. Well, we're starting to have these conversations about down the road and what, so,
Exactly.
appreciate your time
Yeah.
and your ideas.
Yeah, I'm not gonna go one way or another at this time, but if you can somehow come up with some more information about other ways you receive donations and how that
Right.
works,
Mhm.
because you could probably receive a considerable
Right.
donation
Or
towards maintenance or what have you.
even in some of the
I
nonprofit
don't think
organizations.
you can charge fees.
No.
Right.
But in some of my nonprofit organizations, they've done legacy funds. You know, when I pass, can I leave $10,000 to the Albany Conservation Fund? How do I do that? How does that
Right.
get set up?
Right.
So these are some of the discussions that we're starting to have and
Yeah.
see how that happens.
And what about putting out like an annual, you know, gift postcard
Mhm.
and
We're gonna appeal.
Yeah,
First Agro Monday.
yes.
Giving Tuesday.
call Kelly Collins.
No,
Oh,
do not
sorry.
call Kelly. Because
Six and 3 days.
this would take some work too with the Department of Revenue because towns can't take donations of cash. So this would have to be carved out, and I don't know, I haven't gotten that deep in the weeds with this. I don't know if the conservation fund, because it lives outside
Set
of the,
another fund up and,
you do.
Yeah.
like I said.
And then you get into charitable
Right.
trusts and you gotta
Right.
report that every year. And either the trustees of the trust funds or the treasurer would have to be
On board.
in the care, custody, control of them. I don't think it can be you,
It's not trustees, it's
treasurer.
treasurer.
Okay, all right,
Yep.
thank you.
All right.
Thank you
Thanks
for your
I
time,
think that was
appreciate
it,
it.
yeah, thank you.
Let's just have it done.
Sean, do you want this? This is where you guys got the. This is the minutes from the 2012 meeting, and you guys got the responsibility of the town forest.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Fantastic.
For our files.
Just, thank you. That's it, I think, for Conservation Commission.
Yes, think so.
All right,
All right.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Thank you for coming.
Are you going to close session?
I don't think I,
Not right away, we're gonna talk about 2023 and what we want to do for 2024, and then there's 2 non-publics waiting after that.
Okay.
next, meet representative from the Carroll County Sheriff's Department, the sheriff himself, Dominic Ricciardi, to discuss the status of enforcement in 2023, the budget for 2024? Should I say 4?
Yes?
And 2 town Why don't you say it? Because this says tow
And town ongoing, I think it's town ongoing. Town
law
ongoing.
enforcement efforts. It's been a busy day today in Albany. Hopefully made some progress, I hope.
Yeah. Get to the courts.
Good. So, in 2023, have you been expending the extra money? Because remember, we were gonna put on extra patrols,
Yeah.
and we didn't start that until we actually got the money.
Yes.
And have you been able
That'll
to use
be-
that?
Yes, that will be fully spent if it hasn't already yet.
Perfect. Perfect. What are you seeing for 2024?
I'd like to propose, we submitted our budget already, so I propose the same amount, including that extra.
Okay.
So it's the 47 and change.
So there's still a little bit of an increase because it'll cover the whole year?
Yeah,
Okay. Good.
and that would be the 3 shifts.
3 shifts
Yeah,
a
for the
week.
most part.
Yeah.
No.
I thought we used to have 3 and then the
Yeah.
increase was to 4. Ooh, okay. I'd like to increase that to 4 if we could.
Yeah, I'm sure we can, the town as well, I'm sure. Yeah.
You've already submitted your budget to the county.
Yeah, but it's only made it through the commission. Delegation meets in 2 weeks, I believe.
So can you
To
get us
see
a number on
first.
what
Yes.
go up from 3 to 4 would be, and then submit that to them as well? Because obviously they have an offsetting revenue,
Right,
they won't really
right.
care as long as they
Yeah,
know it's
it
gonna
won't
be
be a-
washed.
It's not gonna be a huge difference.
Yeah, there'd be no reason for them to say no.
Discussion?
It's doubling our patrols in 2 years, and that's worth doing.
We need
Yeah.
it.
My question is on the overnight, because I'm getting questions from people, especially on Passaconaway. You did some overnight patrols, and people really noticed. They were very impressed with seeing the police out later at night. Is that something that can continue?
As far as overnight,
Well, later in the night,
um,
not constant, but we did have some sharp presence
10 PM to 2
later.
yeah, I
in the
mean,
Because they seem to know when it's quiet time and when they can.
yeah, I
come out
mean,
and play.
looking at the stats, very little arrests or anything were made after, dare I say, 1 o'clock in the morning, to include the cank and everything. So
Right.
most everything was happening from 7 AM to 2 PM. But obviously, that's when the most police are out too.
Right. So when you turn over, does it turn over to state police? Or
No,
highway?
no, we've been called out for this town 16 times in 2023 so far.
And the
Um,
overnight hours?
Yeah, and, yeah, that's by far the most of any town without police.
So you don't have any regular over, because the way they explained it to me is the person that works 7 to 3 is on call until 11, and then the guy that would come on at 7 in the morning is on call from 11 to 7. They like split the
No,
night?
yeah, they split the 8 hours, so it's a 4 hour.
Okay.
So it's from 11 to 3 and then 3 to 7.
Okay.
Those shifts have on call.
So it's not like they don't come out if there's a night call, they're just not patrolling?
Well,
They don't do that for anybody
In an
though.
emergency situation, well, these are the questions I got. If something happens late at night and it's emergency, the response time to get there, would it come from, because we had Conway respond a few times.
Yeah.
Are they the option that would be used?
They would be the option to hold the fort, per se.
That's
Right,
mutual.
right, but they're a
You know,
presence that shows up.
They would be a presence,
More immediate.
if the state happened to be out.
Yeah, which
they're
they have.
also-
Right.
So, yes,
Okay.
Conway, if they're not tied up and it's something that needs immediate response, they will respond.
So a
Until we get
911
there,
call at night,
we'll get it
We'll go
answered
to
one way or the other. We will come out and handle it
yeah,
if they detain them or whatever they do.
which was the case in this So
Yeah.
it did work out all for the best, but the questions after, because you did do some overnight, well, later night stuff that people were like, wow, the sheriff's out here, so.
Yeah.
It was noticed, and in a good way. So I don't, as far as another patrol, I'm all for it. I think that's completely money well spent.
What do you think?
Agreed, yeah.
Because it has been noticed, and I think it's made a
I
big difference.
agree, I've heard a lot.
And on Route 16.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
It is a busy town.
Oh.
It's getting busier.
it is getting busier and it's growing no matter what people think or say.
You think when the tourism slowed down after the craziness that it would have gone back to some normalcy, and it hasn't.
No, I mean, look at your land sales and houses going up
Yeah.
left and right. so.
Exactly. And the land use change tax, it says it right there. Yeah, I'd like to see the 4th patrol.
There were only 12 sales though. We don't have enough to even do our equalization ratio, we have to borrow 8 more sales.
Mm-hmm. Had to do that in Conway as well. We'll expand the time. Okay, can you stay a few minutes?
Yes.
And we'll just conduct the rest of our business and then go into non-public?
Sean, did you have a question?
I have a question related, not exactly. For the Route 16 portion of the town, state road, so I'm assuming state controls everything. Do we have any control or say over putting a radar activated speed limit thing? You're actually doing the speed limit or you're not?
Like you just said, it's a state road and it would be up to the state to do that.
How do we influence
All
the state to do that?
signs, everything is state approved. Even down the Kank, we had to get approval from the state. And,
You can get approval, but we maintain, and we have to take care of it. If it's, like you're saying, I'm thinking you're thinking one of those solar powered.
That's what I'm wondering. In conjunction with increased enforcement,
Kenworth did
also
it, a few
increased
other towns
awareness
did it.
of
So
what the
most-
speed limit actually
But most
is.
towns own those.
Well, that's what he's
Most
saying.
towns
If
own
we
them
buy
because
it,
they
and
have
putting them
their
on
own.
state roads is either.
Right. Most towns can do it because they own them, because they have a police department and they just trailer them out there with the state's permission. But the sheriff doesn't have those.
No, you're talking about the trailers, but the town of Eaton put the 2 signs out, and that's a state road on 153.
Really?
And the
Eaton
town
Road.
owns
The town
them.
bought them, and they,
Did you reach out to
I can
Leanne?
certainly find out.
Kenworth has them, where they raised the speed limit up to 40, at 35, they got permanent mounted.
I mean, it seems like if we're doing
Yeah,
enforcement, we
you
should
can,
also be doing awareness at the
Let's
same
see
time.
the process that they went through.
I think it was pretty simple. And they may have grants for
Maybe
those
just to the
signs for a 50-50
director.
split or something.
Right, emergency.
Were they put
management.
in 153?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, right by the stall. There's one on each
Wow.
side.
Yeah.
It was needed there.
We spoke to that in our last Route 16 corridor meeting, and but whatever signage we could put to,
Yeah, we'll be having it at the
Facilitate
public hearing if
slowing.
you're interested in
and that'd be
attending.
a great question if you come to the public hearing to ask the state people.
Is that scheduled?
It will be, I hope soon. It
Yeah.
hasn't happened yet.
He hasn't been in touch, so.
There is going to be one.
Kind
it's
of
just
gave
a
them so
matter of-
much information.
Yeah, it's up to it's their meeting, it's not ours, so they like to do it after a selectmen's meeting so that they have their input, but we don't. They have to go simultaneously while they're having the public hearing, they're also doing conservation. Do they have to acquire land? They're it's their right-of-way bureau, whether they're taking stuff, what they need. So it's a lot of historical,
Yep.
everybody's involved, so I haven't heard from them yet.
I have one follow-up question. That meeting, is that gonna be just DOT or is that gonna be DOT and Department of Safety? Because what we were told at the last one is DOT is like, we don't do speed limits.
I want to
So we
invite,
wanna have
I was
Department
gonna,
of Safety.
when it comes time, we're gonna invite more, I want to invite as you're saying, the speed enforcement. There's a name for them, I don't know what it is, that department.
Department of Safety.
Yeah, and have them present. if they
Absolutely
can.
present. I
Yes.
feel like it's a crucial part of it.
No, everybody that can answer a question, we're gonna reach out to, we're gonna make it as, hopefully as busy as it was last time. if
And
not
productive.
more.
Yeah, we made the request for a speed study to try to lower the speed limit, but we don't qualify.
For
They did
what?
the study, for reduction of speed limit, it doesn't qualify.
Oh,
because they did the speed study. It has to come within 83% of, I can provide the speed study to you and what, is it Lambert? Is it Lambert?
He's left though, I think someone knew.
But I have that in writing from him with
We
a
had
web
meeting
link
with
to
them
the study.
2 weeks ago, how many? 3 weeks
Last
ago. And basically they gave us 3 sections of Route 16 and asked us which one that we thought was the worst that we should start on, because we have $9
Point something.
point something million
$9.1
dollars.
That's for all the
million.
widening.
And that's
isn't
for the
it?
whole thing. So we chose section 2, which I believe came from Petopia up to almost Tanglewood.
Yeah, actually, to Bald Hill.
To Bald Hill, yeah.
Yeah.
So they would dig everything up and do it all correctly and rather than just.
A little bit everywhere.
But it includes taking all the concrete out.
Yes.
So that is part of what the project was for.
Like I said, this
which
is 1930 road and it wasn't meant for this kind of
and
travel,
drainage,
so.
Things that their engineers need to do. So there's not a lot of money left. So the selectmen picked the section they thought would get the most bang for the buck if we do a center turn lane or widening shoulders or.
And the northern portion up by Coleman's was just the most expensive portion. Otherwise, we'd probably take that under a little more closer consideration. But, so we felt that,
Yeah,
Our
we
crew
couldn't even
was
do
the
that
one
for
that we were-
9.1 million.
and it doesn't mean that they're gonna do it either. They just wanted a recommendation from
Right. But this is,
us. We travel the roads every day, so.
yeah, this is the very expensive redoing the roads part,
It is.
as opposed to the just lower the
But
speed
after
limit.
all this time and the
So
amount of
this-
traffic coming
It'd be great
north,
to get the report.
it's time.
And then
So,
The thing is, they have a formula for that because to hear them tell that, and I don't know if this is true or not, but just reducing the speed limit does not reduce the speed limit. The science of that is, and maybe even the psychology of that is that people drive the speed limit that they feel it's safe to drive. So if you make that 40 miles an hour, but Joe Blow thinks it's safe to do 55, he's gonna do 55 regardless of what the posted speed limit
And
is.
if 80%
Will
of
we
them
get a
do
ticket?
that, then
Probably.
that's what they said. That's
Yeah.
exactly the phone that you're talking to.
Yeah.
The majority of the average speed is where they based it.
And when we get to town meeting, my question to law enforcement is if the town unanimously voted to lower the speed limit to send to the state, we as a town want the speed limit lowered.
Nope.
It's up to them.
No.
It's got to be a
it's
letter.
non-binding.
not.
It's not binding, of course.
It's not at
Yes,
all.
we've
because
Of course it's not
already,
binding, it's a
we've already
state
sent the letter.
We didn't have a vote.
But
We
we'll
just
ask
had
for
a-
that.
No, it's the Board of Selectmen representing the town of Albany. We have
We tried
already
to
sent
do
a
it,
letter
but
to
no.
reduce the speed.
They have
They
a
said, we'll do the study.
way
They
to
did
do
the
it.
study and said, don't
we don't
qualify.
qualify.
So,
the
but
answer
this
is
might
no.
be another answer if we ever get on the project to widen it, maybe somebody is stopped and somebody else could swerve around, have a little more room on the sides. Ooh, we don't know, but, they offered us this money and we're doing what we can with it.
Yes.
It was a different plan 10 years ago.
Yeah,
It was
it's
gonna be
actually a rumble
strips,
strip
So,
plan, so.
thank you, Jack Rose.
But come to the meeting,
Thank you. Yes.
bring everybody you can, because we're
Yes.
gonna push for more. We're not gonna hold back. We're
That's
gonna
right.
see if we can extend further north
Yep.
past, where they
Past
say.
Tanglewood.
And
Those corners are
signage is a
horrible.
big deal. They have, again, another word for it, but the more things you can put into this design to give the implied perception that you should slow down.
Mhm.
And
Yes.
they even talk roundabouts, which was just kind of thrown out there, because that is definitely a slowing obstacle.
Yes, it is.
But to put one just to slow people down really doesn't make sense. If we had an intersection that warranted something like that, it would help us, but we don't.
Like Coleman's.
Yeah.
You also run the risk of, because I saw this in Greenville where I worked, the state put in a roundabout to try to slow speed on a road, but the GPS still takes the 18-wheelers through it, and every winter, it's a very small roundabout, and every winter the 18-wheelers get hung up on and then they have to wait for a flatbed because there's only a certain kind of wrecker that can haul them off, and that stops all the traffic going through Greenville, which is kind of like Albany from the standpoint of it's 2,200 people, and it's just a pass through to get to, to Fitchburg, Mass, and Peterborough, New Hampshire, and so then that shuts everything down. Yeah, it lowers the speed and stops all the traffic through 2 towns for hours.
Sounds like bad design.
Right.
It is, but that's what they want to do. They put in the smallest possible roundabout they can.
So watch for the meeting.
Yeah.
All in one, just like
Yeah.
last time.
Well, that's
get
my
better.
request, all is with
Yep.
enforcement that we also have more awareness of what they.
Enforcement is there, it's just what they can enforce.
I'll send you the letter that I got back from Lambert when they requested it, and it's got a link to the, I can't print the speed study, but it's got the link to it so you can see the data. I'll send that to you.
Thank you.
All right, thanks.
Thank you all.
All right, on to old business, nothing new with the chapel. We just discussed NHDOT project 29597. And we're on to other business and board reports. Planning board meeting? Haven't met. What about North Country Council and TAP?
TAC had a meeting, of course, in Lancaster.
Yep,
I had a
fun
hard
drive.
time getting to Lancaster. I think I've been to one,
Mm-hmm.
and I basically have to take time off from work to go, so it's tough.
Okay,
Um,
but we were
But
talking
I
last
have been
meeting.
I have been in contact with Nick, and I am pushing that as firmly as I can without
Yes.
being aggravating to him,
Yep.
because he's going to be helpful. He's just, I noticed when we met with him 2 weeks ago, he took everything very seriously. And I don't know the limitations of what he has. If it's North Country Council, we don't have someone going to that. I don't know where the better bang for the buck is, either with North Country Council or with TAC. I thought TAC was better because it's more feet on the ground.
Yes, maybe a little both.
A little of both would probably
Yep.
give us, when Steve used to do it, we had someone there.
Would it be,
Not that I want to do it.
would it be beneficial to kind of have Mark chime in, Mark McConkey occasionally?
Yes, the problem with that, is not that it's a problem, but Mark is more south. He doesn't even know North Country Council like we do. He's not part of it. We're the
Yes,
southernmost
he's
North
planning
Country
commission
Council.
or something like that, yeah.
So he's often told me we should move to whoever does the southern, because he gets more results with that, because they're bigger towns.
We're the
bigger
last
cities.
town in the catchment area for North Country Council,
Right,
right?
and we're the very end of
And we're
the
small.
road for
The
them.
2 things that you don't get any attention.
Yeah, so we're battling for attention. Like Mark doesn't really even know Nick, we kind of just met him, so.
Do you want me to start attending the NCC meetings? I was on the TAC committee for 10 years for
They
Stratford
meet
County.
up north though, I think they meet in Littleton or something.
Well, I mean, it would count towards my hours. It would definitely limit the hours I'm in here, because all the hours I'm in here were open. But it's once a month, right?
I don't even know, I probably,
Let's look into it.
that's what TAC is once. a
I'll
month.
talk to Nick and see if it's, maybe I don't have to go to every meeting, but maybe he could give me a heads up on the ones that, and you could appoint me as the representative. Maybe I could even do it remotely and be in here and just, I feel like,
We need a presence there.
yeah, we do. And it's not just there, my Washington Valley Economic Council is asking me because Sarah Knox resigned last year, and we don't have any, but, it's hard to get people on planning board and zoning board, and then you get them on there and they sometimes don't attend anyway, and so it's hard to get these more, there's no takers. Colleen Cormack doesn't want to come back on the solid waste committee. I asked her, we don't have an animal control officer, so the sheriffs, I know how much law enforcement loves doing animal control. Like, it's just, but we can't do it. Like, if it was within my power to do it, I'd do it, but, so I think, let me talk to Nick about the North Country Council.
Yeah, I'm not sure how they work, but TAC is great going and you're talking about somebody's project somewhere else, you all have a say, but you can't go into a TAC meeting and start talking about Albany every time. You just,
Yes, you can.
well, you can, but that's not, the other towns don't appreciate it so much, because you
Too
did.
bad,
But they
because
didn't talk
nobody's
about,
done anything for us. I've been here 3.5 years and NCC has done, I don't mean to be,
well, that's NCC,
Trash
TAC
them,
is
but-
different, because if TAC, if we're talking about the Albany project and someone from Littleton comes in and they wanna talk about Littleton, well, go, we're talking about Albany here, and I can't go in and bust in and say, well, Albany needs this. Well, this meeting is to vote on a project in some other town. That's what we're discussing.
But then,
But
you
then
know,
I'll
it's
meet with
kind of
Nick
like what we said
afterwards.
to McCarthy, and it's one of the things that aggravates me about this. You know, when a 17-year-old kid dies in Ospey, a traffic circle gets built in a year. Where the hell is that money for Albany? 2 people died here in one summer, and nobody cared. Nobody didn't care. You know, it's a very emotionally charged issue, but
Definitely is.
but it's hard to watch it happen in other parts of the state because senators get involved and reps get involved and because Albany is 739 people and none of us have the time to drop everything and do it all day, every day, that's not fair to our residents. So I think when we do raise a ruckus, we need to be the squeaky wheel more.
I think we'll just beat the drum louder, and we have been, and we have a plan to.
Yeah.
It's just when the opportunity presents itself. I don't think that this project's gonna be our saving grace. I think it's gonna be helpful, but
Yes.
we need far more.
We need to get that 113
We need to get
intersection
that,
on somebody's radar.
In
Yeah,
reality,
that'll be
we need a
next.
full-blown Ossipee project where it
Oh,
goes
yeah.
from the beginning all the way to Conway, connects us to Conway at the Kank, and we have a full infrastructure straight through.
I agree.
That's what we need.
I agree.
And I sound good, but I'm not going anywhere to tell anybody that. I just don't have.
Get on that
If-
soapbox.
Tell you what, I'll retire and I'll do this full
Why
time.
don't you? I dare you.
Tell my wife.
Well,
I'll pay a little bit.
dare you.
So we are gonna beat the drum. I believe it.
Okay. Does anybody have anything else? Nothing? Me either. Correspondence? There's none. Public comment? None. We are gonna go into non-public session under RSA 91-A:32C. Our next meeting will be Wednesday, December 13, 2023 at 5:30 PM. And after our non-public, we will be adjourning and no further business will take place. I make a motion to go into non-public.
Second?
Call a roll call vote. Kelly,
Aye.
Jim,
Aye.
Kathy, I at 6:39 PM.